Harvey, I got that work, now rock out. Trent Harvey, I got that work, now rock out.
Let's us begin. Welcome home with Lady Blue Flames. Welcome in, welcome in. Welcome to episode 5 of Welcome Home with Lady Blue Flames. We got a lot to cover today, so I'm excited to talk about all the leagues and all the news and all the updates. And it's a new month, so we also will have a new book for the month as well. So we definitely got quite a few updates and new things that's going to be happening with the new month. So I'm going to get started with the Women's Hockey League. They just made several announcements. First thing is they announced expansion. So they're going to have a team in Seattle and a team in Vancouver added to their teams for the next season. So it'll be interesting to see how that changes, or if it changes, like their playoff format. Because their playoff format is different, but they have a smaller amount of teams to start. So we'll see, but that's for next year. The regular season is definitely complete. They start the playoffs on the 7th, which is tonight. So the first game will be on tonight at 7 p.m. You got Minnesota at Toronto. And then tomorrow at 7 p.m. they got Ottawa at Montreal. So they have 6 teams, which is why 4 teams are in the playoffs. As I said, they just added 2, so we'll see if that changes things next year. And as a reminder, their first championship last year was won by Minnesota. So Minnesota is alive to repeat. Will they repeat is the question, but they are alive to repeat as champions in year 2. So I'll definitely be tuning into the games and seeing what's happening and see who comes out on top. But that's the hockey update. 2 new teams, Seattle and Vancouver, starting in 2026. So they'll be changing from 6 teams to 8 teams next year, which is good. It's funny how almost all the professional leagues did some type of expansion this year. Soccer did some expansion, the WNBA did some expansion, and now the hockey league has done some expansion. So the professional teams are expanding across different states, different countries, because of course hockey is in Canada. A couple of teams are in Canada, and next year there will be a WNBA team in Canada, Toronto. So it is great to see expansion across all the sports. It's just funny because basketball has needed it the longest. And it's always funny to see all of them kind of expanding at the same time, even though, so that kind of puts the newer leagues on a faster growth track than the W was. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. I'm really excited about all the expansion. Like, for all the leagues, when they announce a new team, I'm very excited for the league. That just means more opportunities for players, more opportunities for coaches, more opportunities for kids to see live games. So overall, expansion is always a good thing. All right, that is the hockey league. I don't have much of an update for soccer. As I said, they're kind of still in the first half of their season, so there's still a lot of things that can change. Standings can change. I know one big injury was Trinity Rodman for the Washington Spirit. She is out indefinitely with a back injury, and she's seeing specialists to see kind of what's been going on. She's been dealing with her back for quite some time, and it's been like an off and on thing. So hopefully she figure out what's going on and is able to address it so she can get back on the soccer field. She's a very exciting player to watch, even when she's playing on Team USA. So hopefully she can figure out something for herself so she can be healthy and be out on the field with her teammates. All right. I'm going to take a little mini break before I jump into the W because there's a lot to cover for the W. Dun, 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 dun. I know. I always love when I see news of expansion in any of the leagues. Like I said, for some of like hockey, I'm hoping DC gets a team eventually, because right now New York is the closest to me. So it would be nice if DC got a hockey team, because I'd definitely be trying to get to some games. All right. Part 2. WNBA preseason has begun. The draft is over. Most teams have played at least one preseason game, some of them two. There's more games this week, but the season officially starts next Friday. Just a quick recap of a couple of the games. The Aces beat Dallas on last Friday. Chicago beat Brazil. And then Indiana beat Washington. Indiana beat Brazil. Seattle had beat Connecticut. And then Atlanta beat the Mystics today. They played earlier today. And so as I'm watching the preseason games, I'm seeing which teams is actually like playing their rookies, seeing how people came into training camp, and there was a lot of positives. Like, so many teams were already like moving the ball on offense really well. Even for the teams that didn't really necessarily have great ball movement last year, they looked a lot better in this preseason. And so it's very exciting to see. There was a lot of high scoring games in the preseason, which I'm pretty sure hasn't happened too many seasons. I will have to check the history on that, but I'm pretty sure it hasn't happened too many times. There's a lot of high scoring games in these preseason games. Dallas has Paige Beckers. Their ball movement looked so much better than previous years. But I kind of expected that with Paige being drafted there, because even though she's a rookie, she knows how to move the ball on the floor, and she's not a selfish player. So she's more equipped to like just get the offense started and get the ball to wherever it needs to be, whether it's Enrique or somebody else. So it was really good to see how well they moved the ball. They didn't win their game, but overall they look much better than they have previously. And then Chicago also as well, getting Vandersloot back helps them set up their offense properly, whether it's a quick hitter offense, whether it's half court, even on fast breaks. Like, she has such a good vision as a point guard. She's able to maneuver all of her good pieces and get them where they need to be. So their ball movement looks really good as well. And then Indiana, ball movement looks spectacular, which that was never going to be a surprise to me. Seattle looks good. I will have to look at the Connecticut game again, because I really didn't see much from Connecticut. So I will have to look at another game for them to give my true like first impressions of Connecticut. I'm not going to say too much about Connecticut. Now, for my team, the Mystics, I was excited about the up-tempo pace on offense, which I knew usually when a team switches to an up-tempo, initially you see an increase in turnovers. So that didn't really surprise me. But one thing I did notice from our games is like we're still looking for our primary point guard. Like we got some good ones, but they're not like when you think of your starting point guard, at least in my opinion, we don't have that yet. Can it develop? Hopefully. But in my opinion, we definitely don't have it yet, unfortunately. And we'll see how the season plays out with Amore going down with the ACL. Like I said, the season is just about to start, so there's still opportunity to pick people up that have been released by other teams. There will be potential trades eventually, and then free agency. So I guess we'll just have to see what's still out there by the time the season rolls around. And most teams have already started making their cuts, because a lot of teams, if you remember from the previous episode, were at like 18, 16, 18, 19 on their roster. And by next Friday, everybody has to be down to 12. And so almost every team has already made their first or second round of cuts. And most of them weren't really surprises, but it's also unfortunate, which is another part of like why we still need expansion, and also why I still think we need to have a roster cap at 15 and not 12. Because if you have it at 15, you can have 3 reserves just in case stuff happens. Injuries, pregnancy, like these things come up during the season. Some teams, some of their players are still overseas. So that 12 roster spots kind of limits a lot of teams throughout the season from keeping certain players. And it usually has nothing to do with whether the player is good enough or not. It's just literally spaces, like having the room to keep these players on the roster. So a few big names, a couple of the second and third round draft picks have been cut. I know Bree Hall was released from Indiana. Cheyenne Sellers was released from Golden State, but Atlanta actually picked her up off waivers, so she can still potentially be on the roster. And that's the other thing with the cuts. They're gonna happen, but as I told you guys in the last episode, players have to stay active and stay visible because things happen a lot throughout the season. Another team might have seen you, and then eventually they get a spot, they'll pick you up. So people have to stay active and stay visible if they want to eventually be on a roster. So you can't take it completely to heart if you do get cut in these rounds before the season starts, because there's potential to be picked back up either by the same team, by another team, but there's potential to be picked up by somebody else that has seen you play and they need your skills on their roster at some point. So it's never a complete, like, you're done. So all these players have to keep that in mind with these roster cuts leading up to the season, because teams are going to need people. It's just the fact. As the season goes on, teams sometimes have to fill spots. And so hopefully all these players will definitely just stay encouraged and continue to work, stay in the gym, stay visible. That way, hopefully something opens up and boom, they'll get picked up. I know Harmony Turner just got cut from the Aces. She's another good pickup. I think she got drafted in the second or third round. Let me see. I still have my draft cards somewhere. Turner. Yeah, she got picked up in the third round by the Aces. But the Aces was one of those teams that really didn't have any free roster spots much either. And so it was going to be very hard for anybody to kind of end up on their roster, because they still had a pretty solid roster. And we definitely going to have to fight for like that 12th spot. But the preseason has definitely been fun to watch. A lot of teams were hitting a lot of threes. So this could be a crazy season as far as 3-point shooting. because I've seen a lot of teams improve who they have as far as 3-point shooters, and the fact that they were consistent during the preseason game should be a good sign for the season. So I'm excited for that too, because we do have a lot of great shooters, and so it's probably going to be a pretty entertaining season as far as the 3-point line for a lot of teams, and not just the ones that are usually up there, but for a lot of teams. So preseason has definitely been exciting to watch so far. Like I said, there's a couple more games, preseason games this weekend, and then the season officially starts on Friday. So very, very, very excited for the season to start. And a lot of teams are looking better than they were looking last year already. And it's going to be interesting because there's a lot of faces in new places. People that have been in the league and now they are in new spots, playing a different role. So we'll see how that plays out depending on where they are. LA was looking good with the addition of Kelsey Plum and a couple of their players. And I'm excited to see what happens when Cameron Brink comes back for the Sparks. So I think they have a really nice lineup they could have and really run well together. So that's exciting. Golden State looks good to be the new franchise in the league. They played at home. They had a great crowd, and they lost their first game, but I think it's about like 1 or 2 points. And that's not bad in the preseason to lose by 1 or 2 on your home court. First official Golden State era game. And they was looking good. They was working well together, and they don't really have, quote unquote, any of the big names of the league, but they look like they ready to ball. Like everybody on that team looked like they was ready to play. So they're not coming out just for show. Not just to be like, oh, we're here, it's a new team. But they look like they coming out ready to try to get some wins and be in the picture. It's definitely going to be hard for them to make the playoffs and make noise, but they can still have a really good season. So I'm excited to see them as a new addition of the league as well. The arena and the court looked amazing, and I definitely got to make sure I get me one of their jerseys so I can put it on the wall as well. So that's my goal. One of my goals this summer, I got to get a Golden State jersey, and I got to get the New York jersey again. That's the only 2 teams that are missing up there. But the outlook of the season is going to be very entertaining with a lot of players in new places. And then the usual MVP candidates, Asia Wilson, always look like she's in top tier shape, ready to do what she does. Nafisa Collier, top tier shape, ready to go. Stewie did not play in the preseason because she did have a procedure, I think, a few months ago. But they expect her to be ready when the season starts, so they'll be good. Unfortunately for my Mystics, I swear, man, I don't know, because we got 3 out or more with her ACL injury, so she's done for the season period. And then Shakira didn't play any preseason, and neither did Leah Edwards. So I'm hoping they're ready for the day 1 of the season. I'm hoping, because another season of these injuries, I don't know, man. I don't know if we can handle it. But our rookies have been looking good in the preseason game, so I'm excited to see them play during the season too, because our rookies definitely have been looking good. Like I said, one of my big question marks is the point guard position for the Washington Mystics. That is my big question mark for them. But we'll see how all that plays out. Like I said, almost all the teams looked solid for it to be preseason. Like usually preseason, you have a couple like sloppy, weird games, but it felt like a lot of the teams came in more prepared than I expected. Maybe even some other people expected. So yeah, I think that's a good sign, because I mean that's gonna be, that means people are in good enough shape to get this season in a good way. So very, very, very excited about that. And something I noticed after the last episode that I don't know if people realize, but Aerial Powers is actually not on a team right now. She's been working out and she's been playing overseas. But I'm like, I need somebody to put her on the roster because she hoop. and she's a hard-nosed defender, and she can score. So we'll see. I hope she ends up on a roster. I hope somebody calls her and brings her back in. She's a great player. She won a championship with the Mystics, and she's been kind of moving the last couple years. So hoping she finds herself on a team this season, ready to ball out. But we'll see. I'll keep you guys updated. Like I said, over the next week and a half, there'll be more cuts. And then once all the final rosters are there, I will let you guys know who didn't make the cuts, who did make their teams, and kind of give some predictions for the season and see what's happening, how I think the teams will line up power ranking wise, who's looking like they might be out for MVP, Defensive Player of the Year, Rookie of the Year. And so once the rosters and the preseason games are done, we'll talk about all that, and then I'll give my predictions. And you guys will be welcome to put your predictions under the video as well. But very, very excited for the WNBA season. I think it's going to be a very, very good season. So definitely stay tuned. And definitely, if you got a team, make sure you support them. Just support your team. Action. All right. So we are in month 2 of the show. So now we are on the second book. So the book of the month for May is going to be Briana Scurry, My Greatest Save. Now, Scurry was the goalkeeper for Team USA for a good span of time. She was a part of the 96 Olympics and the 99er team. They won the World Cup, and she was a part of that core group that was on Team USA Soccer for 15, almost 20 years. So her book is the book for this month. As I told y'all, each month we will have a book, and it will be some athlete, some coach, somebody in the women's sports world. Last month was Dear Black Girls from Asia Wilson. This month we got Briana Scurry, My Greatest Save. And I'm trying not to only get the ones that are like everybody knows. I'm going to try to find some hidden gems so you guys can have books to add to your library. But my first quote, or a segment from the book, I should say, before I say the actual segment, it has to do with she was working as like a referee in the off season, and a situation happened where she had to step in and deal with it, and this definition came, and somebody called her a badass, and the previous definition wasn't one that the definition she considered at first for badass wasn't what she wanted herself to be. So there was this other definition that sounded really good, so I'm gonna share it with y'all. A badass is someone who is willing to dive into situations that are difficult and uncomfortable and do it with full intensity. It's someone who may feel fear about something but doesn't let it stop them. I thought that was a pretty cool definition of badass because of it's a difficult and uncomfortable situation, but you deal with it even if it scares you a little and it's uncomfortable. You have to deal with the situation, so you do it with the tools you're capable of to the best of your ability. You don't sweep it under the rug, you don't run away, you don't hide, you don't push the responsibility on somebody else, but you become the badass and deal with the situation head on 100%, and whatever comes of it, comes of it. So that's my little piece from her book. Again, this month's book, Briana Scurry, My Greatest Save. And so each week we will have another segment from there. I try to get a piece that's like a life lesson, and then a piece that's related to whatever sport they play, and so that you can get a mix of information. And so it's not always just like something you can learn directly about sports, but things that we can apply to stuff in life, not just sports, but life with our family, our friends, the jobs we have, the people we deal with. There's a lot of these situations that are just life situations, so I try to get a couple of those in there as well, along with the great sports story or the game or whatever they're doing. So we'll definitely have another one next week. But that is the book for this month, for May. All right. All right. And we're going back to the MVP of the episode, which is my most valuable person. And at first, I didn't know who I was going to pick for this week. But I was more so yesterday, I was like just kind of relaxing and like mentally decompressing and getting myself ready for the rest of the week and reading the information on Asia Wilson's new shoe. So my MVP for this week is Asia Wilson. Her new shoe just dropped yesterday, at least the first colorway, which is the pink ore. And I don't know which number is accurate, but I heard 3 minutes, 4 minutes, 5 minutes. But that's how quickly the shoe sold out across sites online. And that is insane. 3 to 5 minutes gone. For her first shoe, she also dropped like all the items along with her brand. So like the hoodie, the slides, shirts, shorts, the leg sleeve. Like she's got a whole collection of things to go along with the A1 brand. And her other 2 colors also come out on the 15th. The blue ones and then the pearls. Those 2 come out on the 15th, and I'm pretty sure those are going to sell out just as fast. And so she has been just on an amazing tear the last couple years. Winning the 3 MVPs, the 2 championships, winning the gold medal. Her book, which was our book of the month last month, Dear Black Girls. She's just been all over the place. She was on the cover of 2K. She was on the bag of chips. Of course, I had to get mine for my collector stuff. She was on a bag of Ruffles. Let's see. And the 2K cover, of course, which I think they could have done a better cover for her, but you know, it is what it is. She was on the cover. And then she also has her own candle line, which is burnt wax. Can't really read that one. But the candles smell fantastic, and they're all labeled. The names are all like key moments in her career. And so she's been doing a lot. And then I wish I could, but she also has like Nike did commercials for her line, and the commercials are fantastic. Like they really got the essence of her and kind of pieces of her story in those commercials. And then the commercial was also, one of them was produced by Malia Obama. So they really were like pulling out the stops when they were deciding to like launch the A1 brand for Asia Wilson. And so Asia Wilson is definitely my MVP for this week, and more so just for how she's been with the community and the people that support her, and just being honest when she's been up, when she's been down, and then just her community work. Like she's very, very much honest and just tries to give back. So not just a great basketball player, but a great person. And so that is definitely my MVP for this week. I will link the stuff for her book, the stuff for her candle. I can't link the shoes just because they're gonna have to re-update everything. But if you look up her shoe, you'll find it. But they ain't gonna be in stock. But you'll find her shoe. Her shoe looks amazing. Everybody says that it's comfortable. So I can't wait to get my hands on a pair. I really want the blue ones. And the blue ones come out on the 15th. So I'm be keeping my eye out. And they're eventually supposed to be in the stores this month as well. But I'm not sure like how widespread over the country are they actually going to be in the store. So I have to do a little more research to see like how big of a drop that's actually going to be. Like if there's only going to be certain locations where you can get her shoes. So we'll look into that. But like I said, these last couple years, Asia has been in her bag between winning on the court and winning off the court. And she's one of the few players who in the off season doesn't go overseas, and she doesn't play in a new league either. Like she values her time to be able to rest and recover and then train so that she's in shape, ready for the next season. So I really like that for her, and I'm glad that we have come to a point where she can afford to do that, because early days in the league, they couldn't afford not to go play overseas in the off season. We finally got to a point where at least some of the top tier players can afford not to have to go overseas and actually, take care if they had any nagging injuries or anything like that. So, and I love that for Asia, and I think it shows in how she plays on the court every single night. She's always in top tier shape, and so I'm excited for this season. Be walking around singing the Asia Wilson song. That church scene took me back to my childhood, bro. Sitting in church with your cousins or your relatives, and you get to laughing, and grandma be having that hat on, turn around, be like, give you that look. Like, y'all better be quiet up in church. Took me back. Alright, to wrap up today's episode, we're going to recap. We talked about the Women's Hockey League. They did an expansion. They are adding 2 teams. Seattle and I forgot what the second one was. Just that fast. Seattle and Vancouver. So they're getting expansion. Their playoffs start tonight. There's 4 teams in the playoffs. 1 game is tonight. The next game is tomorrow. They are a best of 5 in the first round. So I'm definitely going to be tuned into that and see how that goes. And then we talked about how the preseason of the W has actually been really good. Like usually preseason, you're used to seeing sloppily paid play and not very many people in super great shape. But so far this preseason, a lot of people look like they're in really good shape. A lot of teams have really great ball movement. And it was a lot of high scoring games. A lot of teams improved their 3-point shooting. So it should be a very, very interesting season for the W. So I'm very excited and I cannot wait. There will be probably 1 or 2 more rounds of cuts. All teams will have to be down to 12 on their roster by next Friday. So probably Thursday night, like midnight Thursday. I'm not sure of the exact time, but it has to be down to 12 by the time the season starts on Friday. So there'll definitely be some more players getting the cut and getting the boot the next week and a half. Got a few games this weekend. After all the preseason games are done, I will go over my predictions for how the teams may end up. Who I think might get MVP, Defensive Player of the Year, Rookie of the Year, Coach of the Year, different stuff like that. I'll give my predictions, but that'll be later next week once the rosters have been finalized and all the preseason games are done. Our book for this month was Briana Scurry, My Greatest Save. She played for goalie for the U.S. women's soccer team, book has been fantastic. They've been a joy to read. But that'll be our book this month, and each week we will get a little piece from it. So that book has been a joy to read, and getting different athletes' perspective on different things and kind of how their journeys have been different or different things like that. So that's been fun. Our MVP this week is none other than Asia Wilson. Just dropped her signature line, A1, finally. We have been waiting years for Nike to drop stuff for Asia Wilson, and this summer it is happening. It has already begun. There's a few more things that are going to be rolled out as the summer goes along, so I'm really excited. And as I'm able to get things, I will do an unboxing, unveiling on stream for you guys, so that you can get a look at whatever items I end up getting for the brand. And she's a fantastic player and a fantastic person off the court. So she's definitely been the MVP for this week. With as much as she's been doing the last few years, she's been doing a lot and working a lot off the scenes as well, and just trying to continue to grow the game, grow her brand, and still be a winner on the court. So Asia Wilson, MVP of this week. And so that was this week's episode number 5. We are moving along, month 2 of Welcome Home with the Lady Blue Flames. And as I leave you guys, remember the goal of this show is to educate, appreciate, support, and promote women's sports. The goal of Welcome Home with Lady Blue Flames is to educate, appreciate, support, and promote women's sports. Do your part, I will do mine, and I will catch y'all next time.